So, folks, today we have a special guest. It is Jason Schreuder, and I always miss his last name, pronounce it multiple
You
times,
got it. You
and
got
it's
it.
Schrader. So finally, I managed to get it. So welcome, Jason. Jason is somebody that I have met probably back in 2018, maybe 2019 timeframe.
You were you were the first Agilist that I connected with in the Raleigh area, actually.
And that was like right after you got off from military, correct?
Yeah, it was like the end of 2015, I think. I got
Okay.
out in 2016, but I feel like we connected end of 2015, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, and that's how long it has been since I've known Jason. And
Yeah.
across this time frame, Jason has gone from a beginning of his journey to now a established CEC. So today I want to learn about Jason, about you, about your journey. So let's start with a quick, I kind of mentioned a little bit about your background. Let's talk a bit about you first. Who is Jason?
Yeah. So I'm an Agile coach and currently engaged at a large financial firm. And as Richard was kind of alluding to, I actually had a prior life to Agile coaching. So I've been in this game now for about 5 years. But prior to that, I was in the military as an Army officer. So I served almost 8 years in the infantry, led all sorts of light airborne units, call it light infantry. So the idea is to jump out of airplanes, seize a airfield, and then make way for airplanes to land with follow-on equipment. And so that method of combat is very requires a lot of decentralized authority, because you literally have, we call them little groups of paratroopers. It's like 2 or 3 people assemble on the drop zone, and they have to know their broader mission. They have to know where they're supposed to go. They have to be able to make decisions. So to be able to push that authority down to the lowest possible level and work in that decentralized authority with a superior framework of intent, that was my bread and butter for years. And so now as an Agile coach, I get the privilege of not only working with small teams on that scale, small little teams working on a specific project or part of a product or a feature set to try to fulfill a larger set of customer outcomes, but also working with leaders that exist in the ecosystem around those teams and help them clarify that intent that will help teams be successful. So I feel like it's been a really great opportunity for me to leverage prior leadership experience in a new role where I'm not a leader, but actually a coach of leaders and teams.
So what interests me the most is one of the things that not the most, but one of the things that I picked up was, jumping off the plane thing, right? Is that something in there that relates to what we do today or what you do today? Are there anybody jumping off planes today?
I don't know. One of the things that comes to mind is trust your equipment and trust your training.
Okay.
And then when you get, because that's a very individual thing, trust your equipment, trust your training, you're going to kind of follow through on a rote set of steps. But then once you hit the ground, find your team, assemble, and move to the objective. So I think there's a little bit of, there's sort of a lesson there for teams, whether it's the tools you use or the way you interact as a team and the skills you've built sort of on the personal side, right? With team dynamics or like learning about each other. You got to sort of trust that will see you through, and that any previous hardship that you've experienced was worth the effort. And then once you get into working on a project or some sort of initiative, your team will be there to support you, and you guys can work it together.
So there's a part of, your training comes into play, your experiences, even though they're small, not related to really actual battle itself, but you practice for those things, right? You get to done and then follow your process, right? But trust your process, the process will carry you through. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how it sounds across to me. It sounds really
Yeah.
awesome. Uh, so
I
so
think
that's
that's,
what,
I think it helped me to play it back, right? Because
yeah.
I feel like I have this story in my head, but I don't share it very often.
Okay. So let's talk about your journey. So today you're in CEC. You know, I want to know the time it took you to become a CEC, and then talk about any challenges that you see.
Yeah. So the path to they call it the path to coaching with the Scrum Alliance. So just for context, right? I'm a Scrum Alliance guide.
Right.
which is their term for a certified team coach, a certified enterprise coach, which I happen to be both,
Okay.
or a certified Scrum trainer. So those are the three sort of top tier, if you will, certifications, designations within the Scrum Alliance. And they all require not only years of experience and demonstration of skill, but also a peer-reviewed process to validate skill, and then proof that you do things like mentorship. For CECs, train others. You have to have a whole mentorship and training process documented, and then for the coaches, a coaching mentorship process documented, and then engagement in the community. And so, and I'm probably missing some, but there's a whole host of activities that you have to show borderline mastery on, like a lot of experience to be successful.
Okay.
So, starting out as a, I think I got my Scrum Master in 2016. And, I was familiar with Agile practices and had leveraged the Scrum framework previously, but didn't get like certified as a Scrum Master, if you will, until my first job out of the Army with a small company here in the Triangle. Actually, I'm in the Raleigh area of North Carolina, just like you. But got certified as a Scrum Master. And as I kind of dug through the Scrum Alliance and talked to some people that were mentors of mine at the time, and kind of learned, okay, where do I go from here, right? Like, what is the path, the career path, if you will, for a Scrum Master, and what opportunities are out there if I want to maybe one day become an Agile coach? And that just launched me into a years of intense focus on my own professional development.
Okay.
I think one of the things that I love about the Agile community, and I got this from you, actually. I remember this conversations about this when we were in 2016, when I was shadowing you at your company at that point, was like, you have to focus on your own learning, your own discovery, and like any experience that you have as a Scrum Master or a coach, reflect on it and figure out how it's going to shape how you show up for future engagements. And I'd never really, the Army has this after action review process.
Okay.
But it's a little, it's a little mechanical, and I think things get documented, but the idea of that personal introspection as an integral part of being an Agilist, I really latched onto, and it really helped me think through where I wanted to navigate, because I was starting a new career, right? Not just new Scrum Master, but I'm starting a new career post-military, and I want to be the best I can be at that.
Right there, I think one thing that you said was you started with a goal in mind. So this is right out loud, you found this new field, and you say, hey, I see this career path, and it sounded to me like you saw where you want to hit it, right? So it's like, I want to be a coach, right? And then basically, you figure out how to get there. So that's something very interesting, because it was very direct and very focused.
Yeah, and I think, if I looked at, and if I'm trying to remember like where Jason was 5 years ago, but I'm like, okay, if I look at, okay, I want to be a coach. What opportunities are out there? And it was a short search to land me on the Scrum Alliance. I mean, they had a clear path to Agile coaching, skill development and capability, I guess proof of capabilities along the way, and then a certification program that would give me sort of milestones to work toward on that journey. So it was, to me, it was a no-brainer to follow the Scrum Alliance path towards CEC, and that's what I've been doing for 4 years.
There are intermediate steps, as you mentioned, from Scrum Alliance. That's very clear, to where you need to go, right? CSM, and then Certified Scrum Practitioner, right? And then you can either become a CTC now, and then a CEC. So the path is it's all laid out.
Yeah.
Were there any things that you had add on to your journey that helps you to be a better CEC?
There's three. I think three come to mind, and I don't know how I would prioritize these. I think it's going to be different for everybody, but so I'll start with facilitation. Being an effective facilitator is integral to being a good Scrum Master, and I love and then by extension, an Agile coach.
Right.
I love the IC Agile Agile team facilitator course for just that reason. I was fortunate to be able to go get it from Lisa Atkins as part of
Nice.
her coaching boot camp, which was great, right? Because it's baked
Yep.
into, it's one part facilitation, one part agile coaching, and it was just a complete package. But even just the facilitation training on its own was an incredible set of tools to help me. There's like an art of hosting. There's an art of hosting teams. There's an
Right.
art of hosting meetings. There's an art of creating a space and a container for teams to execute and do their best work. And then actually inside of facilitation, you have to kind of have a coach's skill set for asking open questions and sort of, clarifying what the group wants, like what their goal is, helping them clarify agenda. There's so many parallels between facilitation and coaching. That was like one big skill set. And I went on this whole journey over like 2 or 3 years of getting lots of training in that space. And then like one of the things I found the best way to really show that you know something is to teach others.
Right.
That brings me to my second point, is being decent at training. You don't have to be a good trainer necessarily to be a CTC or a CEC, but by demonstrating that I had turned my knowledge of agile practices in something like facilitation, or something like kicking off a new team, or even technical practices, as I think about those as a skill set and then turn those into teaching experiences so that others can gain the same capabilities, that showed contribution to the community and, some of the leadership skills they're looking for. And so the facilitation teaching piece were the first two sort of things right off the bat. And then as I got kind of further along on my journey, it brings me to my third point. The path to coaching is very clear that you need to have demonstrate professional coach competencies on par with the International Coaches Federation Associate Certified Coach, the ACC. Now, you don't have to go do a full professional coaching bit and pay and become an ACC, but you need to be aware of I think there's 13 competencies. They might have streamlined them. Be aware of those competencies that the ICF has put together for the body of professional coaching, and leverage those in your one-on-one coaching conversation. So a little bit of training, again, to kind of get familiar, and some mentorship. But I started bringing those competency skills into one-on-one conversations, whether it was with team members, whether it was with product owners or scrum masters that I work with, or other leaders in an organization. Pulling in those professional coach competencies and showing progress towards professional coaching was super. It's not only required, but it made me a better coach as I got ready for these higher level certifications.
One thing comes to mind to say, as somebody that has been through this journey, what can you share with someone that is a Scrum Master today that wants to become an Agile coach? What advice would you give for them?
My one, and this was my journey, so it's my truth, and this is that's the beauty of advice, right? You can only speak from your own perspective. Download the CTC application sample from the website and look at everything that's on there and what they're required to achieve one of these certifications. Not saying you need to pursue the certification, but it is a holistic look at you as an Agile coach, from mentorship to community involvement to self-reflection and clarifying your coach approach, mentoring others, your just time on coaching. So all of that is a complete package that I started on in 2016, and it took me years to get there. That helped shape what I wanted to pursue, and there's so much to explore in the world of Agile, right? There's so many opportunities, but even using that as sort of a guide was super useful for someone who is an Agilist. Maybe they're a Scrum Master. They're saying, "Hey, I want to be an Agile coach one day." You could call yourself an Agile coach, right? You can put it on your LinkedIn profile and apply. People do it all the time. If you really want the capabilities and experience and the discipline that comes with that, taking a look at that path to coaching and the application for a CTC, for example, would be a great place to start.
So that is really awesome. So, folks, that's a very different view on how to get to become an agile coach. So, Jason has a very clear path, right? He followed a checklist. He downloaded the CTC stuff. So that's great advice. So here's another example of staying focused. If you have focus, you will get there. So time is one of the factors. Some of us get there slower, some of us get there faster. It's our own journey. So once again, Jason, thank you for being on here today.
Yeah. Can I put a little plug in about something?
Absolutely.
So thanks for hosting me, Richard. This has been an awesome conversation. So there is a whole review team behind the Scrum Alliance with the application process, but there's also those of us in the community that just want to help in a sort of an informal capacity. So I've raised my hand to be a mentor for folks that want some help with the application process. And even if you just want like a second set of eyes to review, I would love to help anyone that's interested. I've written a couple blogs recently actually on this journey. So I think that's kind of what led us to this conversation, Richard. But there's tons of stuff on my website, iterationsofjason.com. Check it out. And there's also resources on there to more concrete details of how to get started.
Awesome. So there you go. There's a connect right there, a offer on the table for anyone that is looking. If you need a mentor, you know where to go.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.